Fed by tens of thousands of tributaries, the Amazon River crosses the entire South American continent. This, the mightiest river on Earth, stretches 7,000 kilometers from its source in the high Andes before it flows into the Atlantic off the coast of northeastern Brazil. The sparsely populated Amazon Delta is a fascinating, largely unspoiled marine landscape. The tropical climate helps sustain a unique diversity of fauna and flora from which the people live here. The 250-kilometer-wide Amazon estuary has the largest water volume of any delta on Earth. Our journey of discovery begins north of the delta in an untouched jungle area that can only be reached by boat. Christoph Jasta, a German native who grew up in Brazil, leads the expedition into a remote reserve. Scientists want to study the plant life in Tumucumaque Park, but they can only get there with the help of an experienced boatman.
In some sections, it's only deep enough to get through with a boat for a length of 1 or 1.5 meters. If you miss them, you'll immediately damage your boat, or in the worst case, you might capsize. There's always a risk of hitting something with the outboard motor and having to return. That can jeopardize an entire expedition.
The journey continues deep into the jungle. Hour after hour, there are no roads, no electricity, and no mobile signal. The river is the only way to reach this otherwise inaccessible wilderness. Beneath the 60-meter-high forest canopy are many yet unexplored worlds.
We have capsized in the past, and we lost a lot of our equipment as a result. It's not without danger.
Indeed, the dangers lurk both in and out of the water. It's not just the caimans and snakes on the shoreline and the piranhas in the river that can be dangerous.
The risk of being bitten is not quite as high as encountering an electric eel. The shock is extremely unpleasant. Depending on how sensitive the person is, they can sometimes fall unconscious and then drown. That's happened quite a few times.
The electric eel can deliver a shock of up to 5,000 volts, but most of the animals, like this giant otter, are harmless and rather shy. They can grow up to be 2 meters long and weigh up to 20 kilos. The river is also home to the Amazon dolphin, known locally as the boto, which grow to 2 to 3 meters long. They have tiny eyes, and in murky waters, they rely on echolocation to catch small fish. The river journey lasts until evening. It's dark by the time the expedition team finally arrives at the Tumucumaque Conservation Area. The base camp is not far from the river. Christoph Jasta uses a handcrafted shelter for his expeditions. The forestry scientist has been managing the Tumucumaque Reserve for 8 years. He's supported by locals who know the area well. This time, he is joined by young researchers from all over Brazil. They are here to study the biodiversity of the plant and animal life. This jungle is a treasure trove for botanists and biologists, and there are many new species to discover.
You have to climb up here, then from there onto the next tree and up that branch. Place the trap up at the top.
They suddenly spot a sloth high up in the canopy. When sloths are not searching for food and slowly stuffing their mouths with leaves, they spend their time resting upside down on a branch for hours on end. Three-toed sloths live a solitary life in the crowns of the trees. They can be found throughout the tropical regions of Central and South America. A few tamarins are leaping around in the second story of the vegetation zone. Tumucumaque National Park was founded in 2002 in collaboration with the Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF. It covers an area almost the size of Switzerland and is the largest rainforest reserve in the world. Today, the WWF is continuing its program to protect the flora and fauna of the Amazon region. Fortunately, the rich diversity of species here has not suffered. In addition to our macaws, the forest supports more than 1,000 species of birds. Christoph Jasta's team is setting up butterfly traps. The number of butterfly species is an important indicator for biodiversity in the region.
In general, we're interested in finding out whether the reserves are serving their purpose or not. Brazil is in deep crisis, and I think it's always environmental protection that's first to be affected by it. The park covers an immense area, and you only need to take a look around to see that everything is quite fine here. And of course, we hope it stays that way.
He's determined to ensure that the reserve in the Amazon is maintained, but more and more Brazilian politicians want to open up the region for the exploitation of raw materials. Suddenly, we hear the song of an uirapuru.
An uirapuru from another part of the Amazon has a totally different melody. Our one here, I still haven't quite got the melody down, is quite friendly towards me, and it always comes back as if we were having a whistling competition. He can do it 10 times better than me, of course, but it's still a fascinating form of communication.
A storm is brewing. It's time to head back to the base camp as quickly as possible. Sudden downpours are part of everyday life in the tropics. The heat of the equatorial sun evaporates the water in the nearby Atlantic Ocean, and winds carry the water-laden clouds into the Amazon region, where they release torrential showers, giving life to the incredible diversity of plants below. A fully grown rainforest giant draws up several thousand liters of water from the ground every day, releasing a similar amount back into the atmosphere as water vapor. The combination of extreme sunshine and extreme rain results in extraordinarily fast plant growth. The diverse range of organisms also helps to decompose organic matter much more quickly. The nutrients released by rotting plants collect in a very thin layer of humus that in turn promotes the growth of new plants. This constant cycle of life and death is a fascinating natural spectacle.
Due to the high temperatures and heavy rainfall, much of the ground is worn away very quickly. Anything that falls down in the form of dead leaves or branches is immediately broken down and then absorbed by the living plants through their root systems. In the temperate zones, such as in the European deciduous forests, the nutrients are stored in the ground for a long time, but that doesn't happen in tropical rainforests in the same way. Once the humus layer is removed as a result of logging and forest clearing, the basis for plant growth is damaged almost beyond repair.
Ants, insects, fungi, bacteria. Every form of life has its own specific role in the ecosystem. Their multitude of fascinating and beautiful forms has developed over millions of years in a process of adaptation to the unique conditions in the tropical rainforest. The team of biologists check the butterfly traps. Perhaps they'll find a new, undiscovered species. If Laris finds enough different butterfly species during the next 2 weeks, she will know that the biodiversity in the region is still intact.
At first, it frantically moves its legs, then it keeps them still, and then it's easier to hold it. We are taking pictures of it with open and closed wings. This one here is well behaved. A butterfly family consists of various different butterfly species. To make our work easier, we only define the families, of which there are 13 in all. It would be too complex to define every species, even for specialists.
You realize that the forest here is as it should be. There's a huge diversity of species and life forms. No one tree is like another, even if they are the same species. There are tiny saplings, and there are huge trees towering 60 meters high. The sheer range and variety of life in the rainforest ecosystem is simply fascinating.
But our children and grandchildren will only get to enjoy this diversity if we manage to preserve these protected areas and prevent their exploitation. The journey takes us into the Amazon Delta, past the river island of Ilha de Marajo, and onto the neighboring river system of the Rio Tocantins. At the port town of Macapa, the Amazon is so wide that it feels as if you are standing next to the ocean. The equator runs directly through Macapa, which is the capital of the state of Amapá. The busiest part of the day is over in the market hall in Macapa. Nerevin da Silva looks around to see what's left. He sells natural produce in his village on the outskirts of the city. Checking the prices in the market hall gives him an idea what to charge.
What do they cost? 1 real.
He promised his family that he would bring some fish.
Hello. How much does a kilo of this fillet cost?
It's 35 reals per kilo.
Did that big fish come from this area?
From further up the Amazon.
So you only got one of them? It's one of our best freshwater fish. We call it the piraíba, and they can weigh up to 300 kilos. Unfortunately, it's been overfished in the Amazon region, and now we only get them occasionally. They only catch a few of them these days.
Brazilian indigenous peoples, Portuguese immigrants, and descendants of African slaves have shaped the culture of northern Brazil. These diverse influences can be heard in the music as well. Brazil's Amazon region is an extraordinary cultural melting pot, and the people here are proud of it. Just a few kilometers away, Nerevin is searching for a type of fruit capsule that he harvests to make a living. It can be found in the tropical swamp forest not far from the river.
The water rises up to here in the rainy season, from January until early August. Then it's the dry season until January again.
In the swamp forests of the delta, known as várzeas, there's a very humid microclimate. Nerevin knows exactly where to search. Like most people in this area, he is the descendant of the indigenous inhabitants.
The andiroba seeds have a lot of uses in medicine, and they're also used for skin care. We river people earn good money by selling them. That means we definitely won't be cutting down this tree.
Nerevin lives with his family, his wife and 2 children, on the boundary of the várzea area in a typical wooden house on stilts. The elevated design protects them from floods in the rainy season and the tides of the nearby Atlantic Ocean. The fruits and medicinal herbs they find in the surrounding area provide them with a modest income. Nerevin is a specialist in the production of anti-robo oil. The oil's anti-inflammatory properties are used to treat skin conditions or external injuries. The nuts are boiled after they are harvested and then stored for a few weeks to allow them to ferment. The insides gradually turn into a soft mass from which the oil slowly separates.
This tradition has almost died out in the Amazon region. We're trying to revive it here in our community. A lot of young people nowadays don't even know what andiroba is. We have various ways of earning a living from nature. Early in the morning, I go to gather andiroba. After 10 o'clock, I harvest acai from the palms, and in the afternoon, I go fishing.
Nerevin is traveling to the other side of the Amazon, which is almost 50 kilometers wide here. Along with his brother Macajero, a certified skipper, they want to visit relatives in the town of Afua, where they grew up. Ships loaded with ore and soybeans from the Amazon region travel through the delta on their way to the Atlantic. A constant stream of gaiolas pass by, the multi-decked ships that are the main form of transport in the delta. They can hold their own against the powerful currents far better than smaller vessels.
As it leaves the country's interior, the Amazon flows with a very strong current, but it's met with equally strong currents from the Atlantic. These waters can be perilous for small boats. When the incoming tide from the sea meets the outflow of the river, there are eddies and waves. You can easily capsize and drown. But the Amazon is part of our life. It's like a part of our body. Without it, we can't live.
Nereven and Macajero weave through an archipelago of smaller islands to Ilha de Marajo, the largest river island on Earth. It's roughly the same size as the Netherlands. In the brackish water, a few dolphins can be seen splashing around. Afua is a typical small Amazon town with characteristic wooden houses on stilts. The locals are celebrating the Festival do Camarão, the shrimp festival. For the inhabitants of the Delta, this is one of the highlights of the year. The festival gives the two men a welcome excuse to visit their hometown. Here, in this remote part of Brazil, most people make a living from fishing or agriculture. Since the former president Lula introduced the Bolsa Familia, a form of social welfare for families, even the poorest have a basic livelihood.
In the old days, we never used to leave here. Our whole family lived here, our cousins, nieces, and nephews. It was our hometown. Nowadays, life's much better. A few years ago, there was nothing going on here, but now you can see people having fun, and they know how to dress. Back then, there weren't even any schools, but that's improved a lot now.
Yeah, that's right. The schools were all far away. Nowadays, there are more than 40 schools on the archipelago for the island's children.
The journey continues to Breves, a port town in the middle of the delta. It lies on a branch of the river that connects the Amazon to the Tocantins river system. Breves is the largest town on Marajo Island. By boat, it's an 8-hour journey from the mainland. It's a center of the local boat-building industry. Simão Costa Saraf decorates boats and ships of all types with great artistry and imagination. Every locality in the Delta has produced its own style. Simão's use of color and the form of his lettering have influenced the typical Breves style.
It's all about the form of the letters and the colors that you choose. But you need to have a passion for it. You can only achieve perfection if you do it with love and dedication. That's how we Marajo Islanders in Breves are.
The interior of the huge river island is only accessible through the igapós, the typical river channels in the delta. Their water levels are influenced both by the Atlantic tides and by the rainy season. Like most river dwellers, Jose Gonzalez and his wife make a living by selling palm fruits from their acai plantation. Due to his short stature, his friends call him Cuadriña, or Shorty, though in his work, his light weight is a major advantage. Like most boys in this area, at the age of 12, he started clambering up palm trees to harvest the acai berries. Ilha de Marajo is the world's largest growing area for this nutritious palm fruit. Nowadays, his sons and several nephews help out with the strenuous work of picking the fruit. Jose won't be able to do this dangerous work for much longer.
These trees are quite small, but in the jungle they're much taller, so it's quite difficult to climb them. I've had a few accidents in the past. Once I fell from 10 meters up, but luckily I landed in the river, in the mud. That saved my life. My cousin wasn't so lucky. He's in a wheelchair now.
Every family here has at least one similar story to tell. But how else can you harvest these berries? Up to now, no one has come up with a better solution. José's family owns several hundred palms. They keep some of the acai berries for themselves, but the majority are sold through a cooperative. José's wife, Sonia, soaks the acai berries in hot water so they become soft. She uses the flesh of the fruit to produce the typical sweet-sour purple acai puree, the most important staple food in the region. Harvesters bring more baskets. Acai is considered a superfood because of its high vitamin content and many nutrients, and global demand is increasing. The cooperative's boat transports the day's harvest to the next town. José and Sonia are members. Using a kind of blender, Sonia separates the thin pulp from the stones.
All the people in Para like acai. We always eat it as part of our main meal. First a spoonful of rice, then a spoonful of acai. But I do it differently. First I eat the main course, then I eat the acai after.
José has an appointment with Erde, the boss of the acai cooperative. In the swamp forests, people live only along the banks of the river. The Marajo archipelago, with its labyrinth of waterways, is a tropical island paradise. They live in harmony with nature, without upsetting the balance of the ecosystem. José wants to buy groceries in the cooperative shop on the Rio Canatico. Erde's wife opened the small store just a few months ago. The cooperative consists of about 100 families who collectively market their acai berry produce.
I'm an example of how it can succeed. After the cooperative was founded, my income increased by about 60%. We're much better organized now. It's easier to deal with the accounts and taxes, and we trade in larger quantities. Before, we used to sell our produce individually at lower prices.
Belém, the capital city of the state of Pará, lies on the eastern side of the delta and is the largest and most important port in the Amazon region. The fishing boats dock after midnight. The peak period is before sunrise. The fishermen don't only bring catches from the interior and from the delta. Fish from the Atlantic are also unloaded at the famous Vero-Peso market in the port city. Here too, piraiba are on sale. This large type of catfish is one of the most sought-after predatory fish in the Amazon region. David Ferreira da Costa brings 2.5 tons of fish into the market hall every day, from midnight until 7 in the morning. With each load, he balances over 100 kilograms of fish on his head. He started working as a fish porter at the age of 16. It's a job that's been done here for hundreds of years. He's happy in his work because he can relax for the rest of the day and earn 350 euros a month. But it took some time for him to get used to the heavy loads.
It's really heavy work. I once slipped on a plastic bag while carrying a load of 100 kilos. I left the scales with 100 kilos on my head, and there was this plastic bag lying there. I slipped, pushing the basket in front of me, but the edge landed on my foot. It caused a hematoma, which got infected, and I had to have an operation. But everything's fine now, thank God.
After sunrise, the jetty empties. The wholesalers have stocked up, and the normal customers are happy to buy what's left. Now the fish sales get underway at the Vero-Peso Market Hall, one of the most famous fish markets in the world. The sheer variety and amount of fish in the Amazon defies the imagination. The main river and its tributaries are home to over 2,200 species of fish, more than in the entire Atlantic. By comparison, all the rivers in Europe combined have just 150 species of fish. In a different part of the port, the acai boats are unloading their freight. The port at Belém is the main trade hub for this valuable fruit. Part of the harvest from the delta is shipped to the country's interior, and the rest is transported to Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro or sold abroad. Another source of income for people from the Delta is the sale of medicinal herbs from the Amazon region. At the small market behind the market hall, the herb women offer plant cures based on traditional recipes. For example, Miraci da Silva sells more than 50 types of leaves, roots, and tinctures. Herbal mixtures to heal infections, for the prostate, or to stimulate the libido.
This elixir here is the Rolls Royce of my range. It works for both men and women, both tasty and good medicine. Shake it and drink it 3 times a day if you're feeling weak. It brings you good fortune and raises your spirits.
Professor Wagner Barbosa researches the indigenous people's traditional herbal remedies at the University of Pará in Belém. He has known Miraci for years.
Right now we're selling this plant. You can make tea with it. Just wash it thoroughly, crush it, and mix it with mint.
The whole plant?
No, you only use the bulb. That's the only part that has healing properties.
I've been coming to this part of the market, where all the herbal remedies are sold, for the last 20 years. It's a real treasure trove of knowledge and experience. You can find medicinal plants here that don't exist anywhere else. It's a cultural treasure that's based on the experience of the indigenous people.
In a lab at the University of Pará, Professor Barbosa and his team are studying around a dozen different plants from the Amazon region. They isolate their chemical components and study their effects.
We've managed to analyze the makeup of a medicinal plant with the botanical name Eleutherina plicata. We've discovered its active components and proven that they're effective against amoebas. This botanical medicine is now recognized as a remedy in the official Brazilian pharmacopoeia.
The Bay of Pará lies in the eastern part of the delta. It's connected to the Amazon by a tributary. On this side of Marajo Island, buffalo farms have displaced many Várzea forests. The Bom Jesus farm, not far from the town of Zorre, has a Wild West feel to it. Around 1,000 water buffalo are kept on the farm. They are very content in the broad pasture land with its many floodplains. The arrival of the buffalo 100 years ago was the result of an accident. A ship laden with Asian water buffalo capsized just off the coast. The cattle swam to the shore of Ilha de Marajo and managed to survive in the wilderness among the rich bird life, including the roseate spoonbill, the heron, and the scarlet ibis. Since that time, other buffalo species have been introduced from countries such as Italy. Carlos and 2 other cowboys take care of the herd.
It's my job to watch over the herd every day and to take care of the farm. Whenever there are problems with the animals, we contact our vet, Dr. Eberhard, and she comes over to treat them.
Buffalo breeding is a lucrative business because the meat is highly prized. The huge herds don't require many staff, and there is plenty of pasture and water here. But from the air, it's clear how much land the farms swallow up and how much swamp forest has been destroyed. 800,000 water buffalo live in this part of Marajo Island. This benefits a few hundred wealthy landowners who employ just a few farmhands and have the power to assert their own interests. Environmental activist João Meireles is campaigning for sustainable agricultural practices that would benefit the wider majority while preserving the region's natural resources.
The thing is that the buffalo is a very heavy animal, and so there is a very fragile ecosystem. It may not look like, but it's very fragile. And where they pass in the dry season, it becomes like a small river in the wet season. They destroy the local mangroves, the small parts that there are some other ecosystems like forest, like marginal forests from the rivers. They are destroying from the inside.
Cattle farming is not only a threat to the delta. Every year, huge areas of the Amazon region are sacrificed for meat production. But due to the poor soil, the herds can only graze on the pastures for a few years. After that, the cattle farmers move into new areas. The soybean farms that produce cattle feed for Europe and Asia also result in the destruction of huge tracts of rainforest. Over the last 30 years, almost a quarter of the Amazon rainforest has been cut down. The thin layer of topsoil has been irreversibly damaged. Despite this, the exploitation for profit continues. João Meireles writes books about the fascinating biodiversity of the Amazon basin. He hopes to open people's eyes to the natural treasure that they are putting at risk.
Deforestation is the result of cattle ranching, intensive agriculture, especially for soya, but also maize, corn. And that's the consequence that our diet in the planet is very much based on meat. If we don't change our diet, that's a planetary diet, we will have serious climate change. And of course, we will lose the Amazon.
On Ilha de Marajo, most of the swamp forest remains practically untouched. And in those places where there are no buffalo grazing, the mangroves on the shoreline are still intact. Every day, Sebastián Figueiredo and his son take their boat into the mangrove forest at their doorstep. They depend on the forest for their income. Suddenly, they witness a rare sight: a young panther crossing the river. These mysterious predators almost always keep out of sight, and they usually only come out at night. While his son watches the boat, Sebastián goes in search of crabs. It's hot, humid, and there are mosquitoes everywhere. The exposed roots indicate how high the water rises when the tide comes in. The Atlantic tides can be clearly felt here, although it is 40 kilometers from the open sea. The extreme conditions in the tidal forests have given rise to a multitude of extraordinary life forms. Searching for crabs is a laborious process, and there is no guarantee of success. Nonetheless, it provides Sebastián with an income of around 200 euros a month. He never had a chance to go to school, so he's glad he can support his family by fishing for the tasty mangrove crabs.
At the moment, the crabs aren't much good because they're molting. It's difficult to pull them out because they're more slippery, and it's more difficult to sell them during this phase. Later on, when they have a new shell, everything's a bit easier. I can catch up to 300 a week then. But it's still not easy. The restaurants pay us badly and sell them at a much higher price. But when we have a good catch and can sell them for a good price, I'm happy.
Even today, the majority of local people get their nutrition from the fish and crabs in the mangroves. The Amazon estuary lies on a major migratory route for birds. Several thousand wading birds from North America stop over here or stay for the duration of the northern winter. The mangrove forests in the delta are also a popular resting place and nest site for a variety of ibis species. In the village of Praia do Pesqueiro, in the mangrove forest belt of the Bay of Pará, it feels as if time has stopped. Generations of local people have made a living from fishing and harvesting the natural riches of the tropical forest. The peaceful, cozy fishing village is also a popular getaway for tourists from Belém. Leonilde, Zara, and Sebastiana are going to search for medicinal herbs in the mangrove belt near the Atlantic, not far from the delta. They go in the morning at low tide, so they can enter the tidal forest without getting their feet wet. A snakebird stalks its prey. Here too, the riverbanks support a rich variety of bird life. Blue and yellow macaws and hoatzin, also known as stinkbirds, warm themselves in the morning sun. The Amazon region is home to several hundred species of parrots. Their diet consists of seeds, fruits, berries, flowers, and small insects. In their free time, the three women work for the non-profit organization Erva Vida, which produces and distributes natural remedies.
Não, tem que abrir aqui assim primeiro. Os paus são vivos também.
They gather bark, leaves, and roots. They draw on the knowledge of their ancestors, who survived without modern medicine in the remote coastal forest for centuries.
Não pega pé.
Isso aqui é conhecido como lacre.
This plant is called lacris. When I was a child, my mother used the milky extract from the leaves to treat cuts and injuries. She would drip the liquid onto the wound, and then it would heal. The plant is also used to treat rashes, skin conditions, and painful infections. The extract prevents itching and helps heal wounds.
Even here, on the edge of the delta, in the bay of the small town of Maruda, the sediment carried by the Amazon colors the water brown. The shoreline offers a nesting place for a huge flock of ibises, among them the striking red ibis. They live in the coastal region of Venezuela and in the Amazon estuary. The women from Erva Vida meet once a week to manufacture their products.
A gente
Thankfully, there are lots of people who want to buy our products. They pass by to say hello and buy things. Many of them come because they're feeling better and want to say thank you. They want to make sure we carry on our work, that we don't stop producing remedies.
They make not only remedies, but cosmetics as well. After boiling in water, the plants are used to make herbal shampoo. They dilute the herbal stock with soapy water and decant it into bottles. They produce a total of 20 different natural remedies and cosmetics in their herbal kitchen. Wide, sandy beaches stretch along the Atlantic coast east of the delta. On the coastal island of Algodoão, tourists and goods are still transported by horse and cart. The Amazon Delta remains a fascinating and largely unspoiled natural landscape to this day.